Hello. In this video, we're going to create your web server in Microsoft Azure. As an overview, we're going to connect into your Azure portal, and then we're going to go through the steps to create a server, then install the web server services on that server, install PHP, and install the MySQL database. Now, remember how we talked about Microsoft Azure? You fill in some fields, you check some boxes, you make some selections, and then you click create. Well, we'll walk you through the steps, show you how to do that, and before you know it, you will have installed an operating system, installed the web server, installed the PHP, and installed the database. And if you have any questions or didn't understand what I'm doing is I'm following the notes for this that I have posted in Learn It Stout. They're underneath week 1, creating your website. It's titled Create Your Web Server in Microsoft Azure. Okay, I open up my web browser. I'm going to go to the Azure portal site. I start typing in portal, and because I've been there, it remembers it. So the web address is portal.azure.com. I click on it, and then it'll ask you to log in. You may have to enter your username. For here, it remembers me, but your username is your Stout email address. Go ahead and click on your Stout email address. It'll ask you, is this a work or school account, or is it a personal account? We have a school account. We're going to do a quick little redirect, and it takes us, enters in our password. Remember, this password is your UW Stout email password. Once you've got that in, go ahead and click sign in. The Azure portal starts up. You should have something that looks very similar to this at this point in time. And actually, these shouldn't be there. That's from when I tested it, but you should have probably nothing in this area. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start with a whole brand new install. So I click the new button, and it loads in panes. How Microsoft Azure portal works here is it loads in panes here, and then it loads in another pane and another pane, and we can scroll back and forth. So right now in the new pane here, underneath Marketplace, we want to click on Web and Mobile because we are building a website. Underneath this new Web and Mobile pane, we want to click See All. So it opens up some more panes, and as you can see, we can scroll back and forth in the panes, so it's sort of a cascading menu effect. Now in this new web and mobile pane, what we want to do is we want to click on the web app and MySQL. We want to create one of these. Make sure it says MySQL there. If it doesn't, the lab isn't going to work. So once again, web app and MySQL. At this point in time, you can read through this. This is what it's going to install. It talks about some of the features. It talks about the database. Clear Database is the people who actually set up the MySQL database for Microsoft. Something to note here, you can only set up the free MySQL database with the student account access we have, and I'll show you where that comes into play. And so I go ahead and click Create. Now, this is where we go through and we enter in the different fields, different information we need to do. So up here, for our app service name, I want to have you type ICT 475 dash, and then your username, your username. So for me, it would be ICT and then Olson KE. Take your Stout email address, everything before the @ symbol. Your subscription pass is your Microsoft Azure, that's our student count. Now for this resource group, click on New, and then in here, type ICT 475, and then resource group. The resource group is the grouping of all the servers together. Down here, for the app service plan and location, right now the service plan defaulted us to East Asia is where our servers are going to be housed. we want to pick the servers closest to us. So I clicked on service plan right here, and at this point in time, click on create new, and it's going to ask us what are we doing. So in here we can type in service plan. You could get more specific, but for us this will work. And then we pick the location. As you can see, Microsoft Azure has servers in lots of countries, different continents. Depending upon where your main user base is, you may want to put servers in different places. And with this account, you can set up servers in any one of these locations. Because I'm in Wisconsin here, I'm going to pick North Central US, and then our pricing tier should be D1 shared. Now, if we look at the pricing tiers here, we can see that there's all sorts of different things with different cores, different amounts of memory, the amounts of storage, how many instances. That would be if your web server is getting overloaded, Microsoft Azure will automatically add in another web server for you to increase your throughput. And then it gives you an estimate on how much this is going to cost. Well, the premium packages here look, I mean, $200, $400, almost $900. What we want is way down on the bottom, this D1 shared. So go, you can select that and then click select. At this point in time, our app service plan is filled out. So you go ahead and click OK at this point in time. And now if you notice for our app service plan, it says service plan North Central US. Now for the database, we go and click on that because we have to do some configuration here. And as you can see, it loads in. Once again, remember, we have all these panes up so we can scroll back and forth if we have to. For the database name, I would like you to use ICT 475, MySQL, right like that. We want a shared database. If you go into the dedicated, that's where you're starting to look at $100 a month. Shared is perfect for what we're going to use right now. And once again, we can pick out our locations. Once again, because I'm in Wisconsin, I'll pick North Central US. And then the pricing tier. We need to make sure and go in and change this pricing tier. With our student access account, we only have access to this Mercury plan here. And it comes with 4 total connections, meaning you only can have 4 connections to that database at a time. We only have 0.02 gigabytes of storage, but we're not going to store a lot of files in there. So that's what we're looking at. And we don't have 100% guaranteed uptime. We have 99.95. And once again, for what we're using for, it's going to be pretty good. But you also notice that there is really no cost here for the Mercury server. So once again, select your Mercury server and then click on select. For the new MySQL database, we have our name, our location, and our pricing tier. And keep this checked so it'll pin it to dashboard. That allows quick access to it. Click OK. There is one more field we need to look at, legal terms, and that's for that clear database because we're adding a MySQL server in there. Go ahead and read that. If you agree to it, go ahead and click OK. Once again, accepted. So now we see we have all the fields filled in. Where we had to type in stuff, there's a check mark here. And the check mark means it's good. And once again, leave pin to dashboard checked and go ahead and click create. At this point in time, Microsoft is installing the server or operating system. Actually, it's partitioning hardware. It's giving you some processors, some hard disk space, some memory. Then it's going to install the operating system on that. It's going to go through and install the Webserver service that allows it to serve up pages. It's going to install PHP on there that will allow us to install dynamic pages and also connect to the MySQL database that it's also installing at this point in time. Now, like I promised, you didn't have to do a lot of coding and that type of stuff. To do this without some sort of wizard or something like this, it probably would take people who knew what they were doing upwards of 2 to 3 hours to go ahead and install this. And as you can see, it's done installing already. What was it, about a minute? And it had our Azure web server installed. Now it brings us into the web page here, and as you can see, it says deployment successful. If you ever want to see what the announcements were, you can go ahead and click here, and it'll pop it up, and it'll show you. Now, some things to note on this screen. Once again, remember for that resource group, I had you type in ICT 475 dash your username. That's what the user group here is. This is the web app. There's some important information that we'll need here coming up, but I'm just going to point them out right now. This is the URL to our website. So we actually set up a website. This is it. With our pricing plan, we can actually purchase a domain name, so kevin.com, and we can set that up to point to this website. But until then, this is the website we're going to use. And for this class, once again, this is all we really need. And if you really want to see what your website looks like at this point in time, when you see these pages come up here, you can click on it, and it'll copy it to the clipboard, and you can paste it in the web browser here. And this is what it is. This web app has been successfully created. There's nothing here, but this is perfect what we want to see at this point in time. Or you could go and you say, well, that's just a link. You could click on it and it opens it up. A couple different ways to get in there. There's some FTP, that's file transfer protocol. That's how we upcode to the server. We can look at different items here. I'm going to close these panes. And once again, remember how I had you pin it to the dashboard? Well, it got pinned right here, and notice it gives the status. If there's any problems with it, it'll give us some warnings there. If we want to access it, we click on that, and it opens up a new pane here, once again, just where we were, and you can go in and do different types of configuration. But for this video, this was setting up your web server in Microsoft Azure. Thank you.